Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to look at architecture in a totally different way. Not just as buildings, but as a physical record of what a civilization truly believed. We're going to see how ancient cultures literally built their biggest ideas about life, death, and the cosmos right into stone and brick.
So I want to start with a question for you. If you had to build an idea, something like eternity, or community, or even raw power, what would that actually look like? Well, ancient peoples answered this very question. Not with words, but with their tombs, their temples, and their cities.
Okay, let's dive right in with ancient Egypt. This was a civilization where the most incredible, the most enduring architecture, it wasn't even for the living, it was for the dead. Their entire worldview was all about order, about the cycle of the Nile, and this deep, profound belief in an afterlife.
So long before the famous pyramids, Egyptian nobles were buried in these structures right here called mastabas. Now, they might look pretty simple, but the idea behind them? Whoa, it was huge. This wasn't just a grave. It was designed to be an eternal home, a permanent place for the soul, what they called the Ka, to live on after death.
And what's so cool is you can literally watch this belief evolve in the architecture. It starts with the simple, flat-topped mastaba. Then, this genius architect, Imhotep, has this incredible idea to just stack them, one on top of the other. And boom, you get the stepped pyramid, a literal stairway to the heavens for the pharaoh's soul. Finally, they perfected that into the true, smooth-sided pyramid, a physical sunbeam, a ramp for the pharaoh to climb and join the sun god Ra.
And that brings us to the big one, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Built for Pharaoh Khufu, this thing was way more than just a tomb. It was like a cosmic machine. I mean, check this out. It was perfectly aligned to the cardinal points, north, south, east, west, showing just how obsessed they were with cosmic order. And the logistics? Just mind-boggling. They were quarrying local limestone and hauling granite hundreds of miles. It was a monumental statement about the pharaoh's power and his ticket to eternity.
All right, so we've got homes for the dead, but what about a house for the gods themselves? Well, this idea led to two very, very different approaches, which we see perfectly in the temples of Egypt and the ziggurats of Mesopotamia. Okay, so this is the key difference, right? It's all about the direction of the journey. In Egypt, temples like Karnak were these exclusive homes for the gods here on Earth. So the architecture is designed to pull you inward, deeper and deeper into a dark, mysterious space. But in Mesopotamia, ziggurats did the exact opposite. They were man-made mountains built to go upward, to create a meeting point with the gods, way up in the sky.
Imagine you're walking through the Temple of Amun-Ra at Karnak. It would have been this carefully controlled experience. You'd pass through these massive gateways called pylons, and with each one you're getting further from the bright, chaotic outside world. You eventually reach the Great Hypostyle Hall, basically a vast stone forest of 134 gigantic columns. And only the pharaoh and the highest priests could go all the way to the back, to the dark inner sanctuary. It was architecture designed to reinforce power.
And if you really want to wrap your head around the scale here, get this. The stone beams resting way up on top of those columns in the hypostyle hall, they're estimated to weigh around 70 tons each. Just think about that. Moving and lifting those things was an absolutely incredible feat of engineering, sure, but really, it was an act of faith made visible for everyone to see.
Okay, so let's switch gears to the ziggurat, which is a totally different beast. First off, and this is crucial, it's not a tomb. It's a solid platform with no rooms inside. Its entire job was to lift a small shrine at the very top, closer to the sky. And those huge staircases, they were for public ceremonies, for priests to climb up, connecting the whole community to their gods. So, we've seen how belief shapes tombs and temples. But now, let's zoom out. Let's look at how entire cities were designed as blueprints for two completely different ideas of how society should work. Absolute top-down power versus organized civic order. In places like Mesopotamia and Persia, architecture was a weapon. It was a tool of intimidation. Cities like Khorsabad and palaces like Persepolis were built on these giant platforms, just dominating the landscape. They had massive walls, huge gates guarded by mythical beasts. It was all designed to scream one thing: the king as absolute, unquestionable authority. But then you travel over to the Indus Valley, and wow, it is a completely different story. Cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro weren't built to make one ruler look good. Nope, they were built on this incredible idea of urban planning that was all about community, sanitation, and the public good. And the grid system is the perfect window into their minds. The cities were laid out so meticulously, with streets running at perfect right angles. This wasn't an accident, you know? This is the blueprint of a society that valued logic, order, and structure in its daily life. It was all about an organized community. And you see the evidence for this everywhere. I mean, we're talking sophisticated underground drainage systems for public health, something Europe wouldn't catch up to for thousands of years. They had big public buildings, like the Great Bath, probably for community rituals. And they used standardized bricks for everything, which tells you there was a high degree of central planning focused on the city itself, not on some king's palace.
So, when we step back and we look at all these ancient blueprints, what do they really tell us? What are the big ideas we can actually read in these ruins?
Well, it spells it out pretty clearly, doesn't it? For the Egyptians, the key structure is the pyramid, and the core idea is all about eternity and the divine king. For Mesopotamia, it's the ziggurat, a physical connection to the heavens. And for the Indus Valley, the monument is the city itself, the grid city, a testament to community and public order.
The famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright put it perfectly. He said, "The mother art is architecture. Without an architecture of our own, we have no soul of our own civilization." And you know what? These ancient cultures understood that deep in their bones. What they built was who they were.
And that, of course, brings it all back to us, doesn't it? It leaves us with one last question to think about. Thousands of years from now, when someone stumbles upon the ruins of our civilization, our skyscrapers of glass and steel, our endless suburbs, our invisible networks of data, what core ideas, what blueprints of belief will they read about us?